Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Backyard Tabletop. We are on this bandwagon, Kurtis. I think we're really getting into our groove here of we're posting pretty consistently now for over a year. Can you believe that?
Nope.
By the way, I'm Jacob.
I think you're lying.
You think I'm lying?
Over a year? I can't believe it. I think you're lying.
I don't know. I think I have some proof that I can go on.
True. I'm Kurtis.
Kurtis and I are best friends, and we really love this tabletop game. The world calls Dungeons and Dragons, but we call it Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, we don't really call it anything else now.
What was that setup for? But we call it.
I was hoping for something. Maybe I should have passed it over to you. That would have been a really good
thing.
But we call it Kurtis.
We call it Kurtis.
Oh, we call this game. It is Kurtis. It's always been Kurtis. Nah, this has probably been the most cold opening yet so far.
It's pretty cold.
Oh man, if you are just now joining us, is this your first episode? Wow, might be a little rough one.
Or the best one.
Or the best one, and it's all downhill from here. We are best friends that like to talk about this game, Dungeons and Dragons.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I've never understood that.
Oh,
downhill
okay.
is a good thing, right? If you're going downhill, isn't that good because it's easier?
I've
never understood that phrase. It's like, well, it's all downhill from here, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna get easier. Is that what you're saying?
Easier.
It's gonna get better, right? Like,
yeah.
If you're saying it should get worse, you should be saying it's all uphill from here because it's a harder trek.
Oh wow, that's a very good point, because I feel like if you think of that Greek god that was cursed to push the boulder up the hill endlessly.
Sisyphus?
Yeah. Something like that, where he was just waiting to get at the top of the hill to go over. It's that would have been a good thing when he finally got there. Oh, Kurtis is searching that. But while he's searching that,
I was right the first time. It was Sisyphus.
I think it's so I think that, yes, from here on out, after this episode, it's all down here. It's going to get easier after this episode.
Yep, it's going to get better. It's just going to get better.
Mm-hmm. You all caught us right in the middle of us going through a wonderful little adventure that Wizards of the Coast came out of, Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk. We are on Chapter 3 tonight, so if you haven't watched the previous two, would highly recommend going to check out the first one and then the second one, and then maybe checking out this one.
And as always, spoilers. If you plan on ever playing this adventure, maybe don't listen.
Maybe don't listen.
Skip these few episodes. But we're both DMs, so we like to look into these books and check it out and see what it's like. I'm actually currently already started running a playthrough of the Shattered Obelisk, and it's going really well so far. We've had two full sessions, a session 0 and then 2 full sessions, and it's been really good.
Right. Is there any new things to talk about tonight? Did you guys get through the hideout?
So not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
We finished our first session with them coming up to the Kragmaw hideout, which is the first kind of cavern dungeon that they go to with all the goblins. Mm-hmm. They fought the 3 goblins outside without much issue. And then, they started going inside. And, exactly how it went through the first time I ran Lost Mines of Phandevler, probably a good 40% of the session was spent in one room, and that was the wolf room.
The room.
Just trying to really make sure that you save those wolves. Don't want to hurt them. Make sure they're fine. Druid was talking to them for 20 minutes.
What were your wolf voices?
I only had one of them talk because he was the alpha.
Oh, okay, nice. That good way of putting.
There was a boy wolf and then 2 lady wolves, and so he did all the talking.
Okay.
And it was just kind of like this, just a nice, gruff, wolfy voice.
Yes, I like it. That's a good voice. That's a good wolf voice.
It was I was actually really proud of myself because I made a Norse mythology reference. They were all tied up in the chains, and the druid was talking to him with animals, and was trying to convince him to like let us get close enough so we could let them go.
Okay.
And the wolf was like, and he was like, if we let you go, will you tell me what we want to know? And the wolf was like, well, here, how about this? To ensure that neither side betrays each other, tell your friend to come closer and hold their hand out.
Oh, God.
And so Greg's character, our sorcerer, came closer and put their hand out, and one of the other wolves just like gently set their jaws around his hand. And he said, great, now you can let me out. And if you betray, we betray. Kind of a thing.
Look at that.
And
look
so
at that.
that was actually a reference to Norse mythology when they were trying to chain up Loki's son Fenrir, because Fenrir was supposed to bring the end of days. But they had raised Fenrir from a puppy, but it was getting too big and too aggressive. And so they wanted to chain him up. But he didn't trust them enough to let them close because he knew something was up. And Tyr, who is like the god of lawfulness and honor, was like, how about this? I'll set my hand in your mouth, and if there is any betrayal, you can bite it off. And that's how Tyr loses his hand in the mythology is he sets his hand in the mouth of Fenrir, and then they chain Fenrir up, and Fenrir gets mad and bites his hand off. So.
Oof. Oh, well, that's a nice little, a great little story.
Yeah.
A nice little reference. Did anyone catch on to that? Or was that just kind of a nice little...
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Steve did right away.
Oh, of course. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, well,
and then Dip was like, is that a God of War reference? I was like, no, Dip. No. It's an actual mythology reference.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't know if oh, wow. Well, we'll get him there.
Yeah, but anyway, so we spent a lot of time in the wolf room, but after that, they got through probably 80% of the dungeon. They got flooded out once.
Nice. Okay.
They were making their way up the pathway. They tried to look on the left path first, where there's the rock slide and the slate and the shale, where it's like difficult to go up that side path.
Right.
And our wizard tried to get up there, and in the new book, there's a snake that lives there.
Mm-hmm.
And he got bit by the snake.
Yep.
Nope, it's not a constrictor. It's a giant poisonous snake.
Oh, yes, that's what I meant. I meant giant snake, not constrictor snake. Apologies. Yes.
So it's a poisonous snake. And our wizard got bit and literally almost died in one bite.
Oof.
Was like 2 hit points
Classic
from death.
Wizard.
Almost 2 hit points from death in one bite.
Oh, our poor wizard.
And he was like, nope, and just backed right out of there. and the druid walked over and was like, hey, why are you so mean? And the snake was like, stay out of here, I'm dangerous. So they decided not to go that way.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna be speaking with so many you gotta get all
animals.
I feel like majority of DMs have to get like NPC readies, like voices ready, and like who like that. That's a whole different thing. You're gonna have to do like half NPC and half animal.
What animals are in this
shenanigans.
Town? Yep. And then, so they then moved past that and got noticed by the goblin on the bridge, who sent the flood. They got flooded out. Thankfully, all of them except the artificer saved, and then the artificer saved on their strength check, so they didn't get completely washed out. They just got tripped up.
Okay.
So they all saved. It wasn't like you guys where you all failed. We all on that one. That was so funny.
We were a pretty low strength group, if I remember correctly, back in the day.
So they made it all the way up, and actually, for the first time that I've seen, they actually went right first. And headed towards the boss room first before they went left to Yemek.
Yeah, I remember when we did that. We found the Yemek guy first.
Yeah, you guys found Sildar first, and then went and fought Clarg. No, they went right first. Took out the small room of goblins with the 2 pools, and then they took a short rest, which I rolled a couple times to see if any goblins explore and find them, and they didn't. Luckily, they got really lucky. And then they finished their short rest and immediately went into Clarg's throne room. Immediately, which was good for them. It was right after a short rest. That would have been rough if they had stumbled into there after their fight.
Are they still level 1?
They're still level 1.
Them level 1?
Yep, I kept them level 1 this time. They stumbled into Clarg's room and started the fight. In that room, it's Clarg, who's a bugbear. He has a wolf companion and then 2 goblins. And the artificer was the first one to walk into the room. And combat started, and then Clarg started, and immediately dropped the artificer to almost an instant kill. Immediately.
Oh, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Off the top of my head, bugbears do 2d8 plus 3 damage or something.
Yeah,
like that?
So they have a morning star.
Yeah.
And then with that morning star, they do 2d8, and I think you're right. I think it's 2d8 plus 3 or plus 4. Bludgeoning damage. And I rolled max damage. so that's it was 19 or 20 damage.
Yeah.
And she had 11 or 12 hit points.
Oh my god.
So instant down. I just played it as he just charged and just back swung and just whack right in the chest, and it was just and everyone outside watched her go off of the back wall, just instant out.
Oh no.
And they were all like, oh, okay.
Time to bring your A game, y'all.
And so the wizard and sorcerer kept their distance. The other 2 did a great job of keeping things facing towards them, and they did get the artificer back up, and they finished out the fight. They took Clarg out. It took, I think, 4.5 rounds, maybe 5 rounds.
Okay. So he lasted some good time. That's good for a combat.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was really fun for a level 1 fight. And they finished that. They looted the cave, and next session they're gonna go make sure and explore the rest of the cavern.
Gotcha. So, okay.
Yep.
So they took out the boss, and now it's on to see what else is here. Interesting.
Sildar. It's gonna be really fun because I want to play it as Yemek is like, aha, you're here. Well, how about this? If you go and kill Clarg for me, I'll let him go. And see what they do, because Yemek has no idea yet that Clarg is dead. So
that's amazing.
We'll see how it goes. I think that'll be really fun.
Please tell me you're going to keep that voice too.
I was thinking like a 60-year-old smoker voice, like kill Clarg for me, and I'll tell you where to go. That's my Yemek voice.
Yeah, he's gonna have like a half like a chewed on cigar that he's
Yeah.
kind of like doesn't know how to light. Oh, that's fun. Okay, well, we'll definitely keep checking back in with the group for sure.
Yeah.
I do believe like that bugbear, like the reason why the bugbear is the boss of this is I feel like because anytime I think this happened when I know it was a little bit different when you ran it, but before that, when we like originally ran this, like the intro of this, when we were first playing D&D, someone ran it for us, and it was like that first hit from the bugbear makes all like people getting into D&D going like, is this legal? Like he just took me out in one hit. Like what?
Yeah, he rolled like a 23 to hit. And then like 2 8s plus 4 or whatever. Like it was gnarly.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was like I think they kind of knew that he was going to hit hard, like maybe half to whole hit points if he does really well, but that was like nearly double. Like
oof.
She was like
just
I'm down. I mean, nothing else I can do.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think she went down. I think the druid got down to 1 hit point.
Oof.
And I think the warlock, I could not hit Joelle, the warlock. I could not hit her. Every single time I rolled against her, it was sub 10. Every single time.
I don't think I'm supposed to tell you this, but I do know Joelle does some sort of ritual where she goes into your like dice area and does something to your dice specifically. Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you that, but
yeah. But then the sorcerer and wizard stayed back in the earlier cavern, so they didn't take much damage. But
nice. Okay.
Yeah, they did good. They did
show. Good show. Well, transitioning into that, definitely want to keep up with how things are going. But jumping, excuse me. Wow, the tea's getting to me. Jumping into chapter 3 today. Thank you all for joining us. Chapter 1 was essentially what Kurtis just did. The hideout and Cragmaw hideout with some things going on. And then chapter 2 was all about basically getting to the town of Phandelver as a frontier world, and the players can explore, they can meet NPCs, they can, get rooms at the town inn there, and they can learn about the ruffians that are all about the town. Since this is a frontier place, there is a band of bandits known as the Red Brands, who all wear like scarlet cloaks or scarves or something like that to identify themselves as part of the gang. They've been kind of like bullying the rest of the town for now. So that's kind of the first introduction to the town, and the party kind of needs to, it's very apparent because all the NPCs you talk to are kind of like, we hate these bandits, like they're bullying us all the time. So it's pretty implemented.
Also, not to mention the guy you just saved in the caverns is like, I think my friend is being held captive by them. Hopefully you can figure that out. There's some because I think when you talk to him, they Gundren was his name, and they took Gundren away from. No. I mean, Sildar. The reason he was going to Phandalin is the other guy from the Lord's Alliance is now running the Red Brands.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's his friend that he thinks was taken by them. Yeah,
and I can't remember his name now. It was a wizard.
They call him Glassstaff. I don't remember his actual name.
Yeah, he's known as the Glassstaff to the Red Brands, but he knows him as a different name, as you would probably tell to your party.
Yeah,
but it's kind of revealed. It is pretty pretty apparent that the players, that when they get to Phandelver, they can run around, introduce themselves, and introduce them to the town, and take care of the Red Brands, who have a hideout just at the edge of town. When they do that, that's when they kind of get some clues of like what else they need to go do, and that's need to go to Cragmaw Castle to find Gundren there. So it kind of takes care of like the red brands in the town, and then Castle is kind of where it seems to be where you need to go save Gundren from. You kind of get some clues there. So chapter 3 is kind of all about it's kind of the side quest chapter as it kind of lists out all the different, like, so when you introduce a bunch of NPCs, you kind of get also a bunch of side quests. Like there's listed side quests for all of them. So that's kind of what this chapter is all about.
Yeah. There's like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 side quests, and then one kind of main quest to go to Cragmaw Castle. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like this chapter a lot because it feels very just kind of off time D&D sessions, like there's nothing major going on. We're still kind of figuring out about that, so let's go do some side quests. Like, it's just fun side story stuff. But they do all kind of connect and show you some things you need to learn and help you out and stuff.
And
it's a very fun chapter.
Very fun, and starts introducing you to kind of becoming almost a hero of the town, because you're kind of running around doing things for people that quote unquote common normal people can't really do, and so the kind of takes you actually out of the town again. So it's kind of like you get a bunch of side quests, and then you kind of get to choose your own adventure and go do the quests, and some take you days away and kind of almost close to Neverwinter, and others kind of take you more east, I believe, up a trail. I'll put up a map, but
the Tribor Trail. And this is also the first chapter that your characters will play as 3rd level characters too, run by the book. So that's a pretty big milestone for most characters, as that's when they get their subclasses and stuff. So it's fun to go on a few side quests and test out your new abilities and find some new things. Yeah, it's very fun. It's definitely the like mid game of like any RPG, where it's like, okay,
right,
we've found where we're supposed to be. We have some information, but we still have some missing pieces. Let's do a couple things, see if we can find any more information, and just help out while we're here.
Help out.
We're adventurers after all.
Exactly. We're adventurers helping the little folk. You could just be out for gold because you get treasures and things like that. For the most part, when I was kind of going through, kind of comparing each encounter to Lost Mines of Phandevler, not a whole lot has changed. There's a couple things. Like for example, the first one, it kind of goes into the town. You do some traveling. It's the Agatha dealing with the Banshee, which is a quest you get from the elf at the shrine.
Yes.
She essentially is looking for a spell book, and
the Harper, right? She's a Harper.
Yes, she's a Harper, and I think the Harpers are the ones that are looking for this spell book, and so she's kind of tracked it to Agatha, who was the last one to have it, and she kind of sends you on this little quest.
Yeah, I think she, like, the way she gives you the quest is she says, this was like my old mentor and I would really like their book back, kind of a thing. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if it is specifically for the Harpers that she's doing this, or if it is true that it was her old mentor and she wants the book back just because it's important to her.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about that.
There was there's
a little bit of subcontext that was missing in the old book, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and this one they kind of dictate it as like when you complete the quest, it's kind of like you can take this back to the elf at the shrine, and she essentially will, once you kind of learn of what happened to the spellbook, because if you do it correctly, quote unquote, you don't attack the Banshee, you actually get to the point where you can ask a question. She'll give you she says you can ask me one question and she'll give you the answer, and she actually knows a lot, so the players could ask her a great many things, like who even Glassstaff is, where is Wave Echo Cave, things like that. But they only get to ask one, and the one you're kind of supposed to ask is, where's the spell book? If you take that answer back to the elf, it says that she'll tell the Harpers that are looking for the spell book.
Yeah, I see that.
So she doesn't actually leave.
Yeah,
but for the most part, that was run the.
I do like that quest leaves a real open end where it's like, okay, ask me whatever you want. What question you have? You can ask me one question, and it's like they could just straight up ignore the quest and say, "Where's Cragmaw Castle?"
Yeah.
Or where's Wave Echo Cave? So it's like she could literally answer probably any of those questions.
Yeah.
And if she can't, she could at least divine something about it and give hints. So it's a very open-ended kind of quest there, and I really like that.
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
And as a DM, you could be as forthcoming as you'd like. You could also be kind of fun and cryptic and give them a riddle or something like that, depending on your DM style. Super fun there. For the most part, it's kind of fun that there's no real differences that I could see, except for the town of Conbury.
Coneyberry.
Coneyberry. It's like Coneyberry. In Lost Mines, it says the town was ransacked by a bunch of bandits. And this one, it just says it was abandoned. So that was the only thing different about this one.
Yeah, I remember that Coneyberry was like kind of same thing as Phandalin, like they had been ransacked by orcs and bandits.
Right.
But that it had just never been rebuilt.
Correct. And then in this one, in Lost Mines, there were no maps for Wyvern Tor and the Old Owl Well. Those were just kind of encounters. But in this one, they do have maps for it, which are kind of cool. Something a little different. Because in Lost Mines, it said that the map is they did not provide maps because there's really not supposed to be battle. They're kind of just supposed to be moments where the party can interact. But if you need to, you can, just use any type of X map type of thing. But in this one, I think it was, for a full-fledged adventure, I think they needed to have at least something to put the players on, just in case. Because at least at the Old Owl Well, it is a necromancer, and if the players pass some history checks, they learn that it's actually a wizard of Thay, a red wizard. So that was kind of fun and different, and maybe your players don't want to work with a red wizard of Thay. They also really, it's kind of fun, they really buffed him. Originally in Lost Mines, he was a challenge rating 1 wizard. He was just labeled as an evil mage. And this one, they gave him a mage stat block, which is a challenge rating of 6. So they've actually really buffed him up. He can cast up to the stat block had him up to like a Cone of Cold, I think was the highest spell he could cast.
Yeah, that's rough.
So something a little different and fun. And I think, again, a lot of these encounters, they do, what they've been doing throughout this whole adventure. They've buffed a lot of the encounters. As more than just the quote unquote like beginning adventure, they've buffed some stuff. Yeah, but for the most part, a lot of the other ones were pretty much similar. Just not to go through all of them, but you have Agatha's lair. There's the Old Owl Well, which you could potentially kill him and get some fun treasure. Which is a wizard that's been here. He's just kind of researching the town, looking for lore and things like that. You learn that it's him that it also wants the Wyvern Tor. There's been some bandits up there kind of harassing him. Yeah. So he also asks you to go take care of them if you wish. But that was also a quest that you get from the guy at the orchard.
I do like that that's one of my favorite things about these 5 quests is that some of them kind of overlap. And even like if you do one quest first and then do the other one, it can have a slightly different context than if you did it the other way around. Like if you go if you go to Old Owl Well first, he might tell you, yeah, I've been meaning to ask that old Banshee Agatha a question. And you could be like, well, we're going to go talk to her. What's your question? Would you give us something for it? And like, you could do that instead. And like, or you could say, well, we just talked to old Agatha and we know how to get on her good side. We can give you that secret if you give us something, like that kind of stuff. It's very fun that they kind of all reference each other and overlap each other a little bit.
Well, it's cool to also kind of be in this place of it. There's options for your players, because obviously when you're designing things, you can't necessarily plan for every player scenario. But, if you have a necromantic wizard in this party, they may want to like befriend this wizard, and maybe they would rather get on his good side than the guy back at the orchard, right? Or even ask Agatha the question of the thing that he's looking for, which he's looking for the name of the wizard that built, I think, the place that he's in.
Yeah.
So maybe your party members are like, no, this guy actually seems way more powerful. We want him on our good side. So let's actually do this instead. So it kind of gives some cool little choices in there as well.
Yeah.
Just a little brief side note. I know you kind of have Dip in your party, who's a sketchy wizard who's uses, I believe you're using a homebrew class of blood magic. Do you think he's going to want to try and befriend this guy?
That's a good question. I think he'll recognize his worth and probably not be as like naturally inclined to think they're a bad person as much as everyone else is.
Okay.
But I don't think his character's too. His character doesn't seem to be very into necromancy.
Okay. It's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
It'll be different.
Sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Okay. Well, kind of cool. We'll get there. But yeah, and then Riventor was the other place that they actually have a map for, and that encounter they actually redid quite a bit from Lost Mines.
I remember it not being a very big quest.
So in Lost Mines, it was a bunch of orcs and an ogre. In this one, they've added where it's the leader is an orc, but then he has, I believe it was like 3 other bugbears and an ogre. So there's less numbers of enemies, but bugbears, they're challenge rating 1s rather than I think orcs are half challenge ratings or an 1/8 challenge rating. So it kind of, is a little bit one of those things. But this book did kind of do away with that thing of like this orc tribe that came in to like wipe out.
Orcs are typically a half, but he goes up from a 13 AC to he goes up from 15 hit points to 18 hit points. So not that huge of a change.
Yeah, so he gets some
gets
more
a little
things.
bit of a buff by the book.
Yeah, they changed up this a little bit. They, instead of having kind of because I think from Lost Mines it was like 12 orcs or something like that. So it was kind of a lot to not quite as many, which I think as a DM it's a little bit easier to run. But I will say from what I remember, especially kind of at this level, I really like horde fights. Like when there are like a lot of enemies that you're just kind of punching through. And
I remember that
it really makes you feel like a badass,
When we did this in your guys' playthrough, it was very like, you were like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of guys. And then the fight broke out and you guys kind of took them out pretty handily, if I remember correctly. Because I think I also actually had you guys at a slightly higher level than you were supposed to be. I think you guys were 4th level by this point, probably.
Right. Well, and this is also, this is bringing in Icespire Peak. They had one kind of similar to this. That was more at a shrine, and it was a bunch of orcs.
Oh, that was a fantastic fight. Yeah,
was a really fun fight, and that was another horde kind of encounter.
You
where
guys
there was
basically
a lot of orcs.
laid siege to a orc stronghold, essentially.
Yeah,
and there were like 4 total ogres, and gosh, like 20 orcs.
There was a lot of orcs.
But I think you guys were like 6th level by that point.
We were up there, yeah.
Maybe
and
7 even.
And it was hard. I mean, we got through that. Like, I think I don't remember exactly, but I was all bloodied at the end, and Kurtis did a great job just to, for audience reasons. Kurtis did a great job. He connected it to actually my character's backstory, my character was a wizard a divination wizard that worshipped the god of fate. And so Kurtis actually, I think you changed the temple to actually be that goddess instead of what was there. So a little bit of changing, but it was really cool because we kind of went in. My character was furious that his temple, this temple of his god, is basically being
desecrated.
Desecrated. Thank you. And he was all bloodied, but like there was this moment where right at the end of the session, I got like slumped onto the altar type of thing, and just it was just really cinematic, really cool. And everyone else,
you crawled up to the altar all messed up, and basically offered a prayer, and you touched the altar, and it showed you like a crazy divination vision of where to really find the dragon, which was like huge information for you guys. Yeah,
is super cool and super thematic, and everyone else loved that fight. So, and all that to say, I think I'm a little bit like, well, I think I would have liked. I kind of just reading it. I think I liked Lost Mines encounter here a little bit better, just because I think I do like the horde type of encounters.
Yeah.
Especially when it's kind of a full-on fight like this. Like, there's dungeons where you're kind of going to rooms and stuff, and there's 2 goblins here, there's 4 goblins here, here's 6 hobgoblins, or whatever it is. But sometimes it's kind of fun to just have an open field map and a lot of enemies and see what your players do.
Yeah.
I don't know, just reading it.
Do you think it's an easier fight now, or do you think it's harder now?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say...
Because there were more enemies before, but they were weaker.
I think that's a good question, and I feel like it. I think my gut feeling says this one would be harder, because of. Go for it.
I think it would definitely depend on your party. I think if you had,
that's a good point.
I think if you have a couple casters who can take out 6 enemies in one spell, the other fight's probably way easier. I think if you have a lot of melee combatants who don't have a lot of multi-target abilities,
the AoE type stuff,
then horde fights are rough for those parties. Most parties won't be like that. Usually you'll have at least a cleric who can do some crazy stuff, like Fofer did, Joelle's cleric did, where she cast daylight and killed like 18 zombies in one spell.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Kurtis still has flashbacks. That's a good point. I would say at level 3, I would say, man, it's a little rough, and you have a heavy magic party, so they might have some good AoE stuff. I think it would be hard to tell. I personally, I don't know, when I was reading it, I was like, I kind of like the other one a little better. I just like the horde idea.
And I think
I think it's up to you.
I think orcs are just enough hit points where a level 3 party isn't necessarily going to insta-kill one orc in a single turn, with one attack at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like they might get lucky every once in a while and insta kill one every once in a while. Obviously with some heavy spells they definitely could. But, your fighter probably isn't going to do 15 to 18 damage in a single attack most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
So
at this level
might be kind of rough.
Yeah. It's like when they only have one attack type
if it was a horde of like 20 like goblins, that's a different story at this level. You know, that would just be swing, 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 heads coming
like
off,
when you're
swing,
a kid.
swing.
Yeah, it's like when you're a kid with a stick and you're cutting down weeds. Yeah, it's like, oh no. So yeah, I will say this from what I was reading, both of them make sense for like kind of the little backstory that was like the reason why they're here. Like they made this group out to be a little bit more like bandit type raiders in Phandelver and Below. So that's why I think there's fewer of them. There's supposed to be a little bit like of a smaller group, but before they were kind of like, they were part of the, if I remember correctly from reading, they were part of a group that was further north that was like raiding towns further north, and this particular group started hearing about Phandelver being repopulated, so they kind of started moving forward south to go check that out. So that was, they both make sense from the perspective they were going from, but Phandelver and Below is kind of veering away from that orc tribe that was being presented in Lost Mines, and this one's a little different. But moving on, the two probably biggest encounters here would be the ruins of Thunder Tree, which is a town that's actually really close to Neverwinter.
Yeah.
And then Cragmaw Castle is kind of the end of this chapter. The ruins of Thunder Tree are really cool.
The Ruins of Thunder Tree is probably my favorite quest in this chapter, for sure.
Is it because of the dragon?
Yeah, it's because of the dragon, Jake.
Yeah. The dragon is super fun.
Super fun.
And I don't know why. I like little side quests of going to find a dragon. I think that's so fun. Your guys' fight
with this dragon was so stupid. Do you remember it? Do you remember?
I personally don't, to be honest.
You were the problem.
Was it me?
You were the problem. So
okay,
when you guys got there, I think you trapped so it's a young green dragon.
Yes,
that is kind of terrorizing
known
these
as
ruins.
Venom Fang.
Kind of terrorizing these ruins. And you guys get there and you see the dragon fly overhead. He kind of goes into his little, like, there's a building that's a tower that is like his lair. You guys came into the town, snuck around, and got to this tower, and you, being the monk, climbed the tower and stood on top, where basically the way I explained it was like it's like planks, like slats, and it's like a doorway that can open, and you closed it and stood on top of it and shot arrows through the slats at this dragon as he's trying to break out and is breathing poison out of the arrow slits at the rest of your party. And you,
oh my God,
like almost killed him just from him being trapped in here, and you're just shooting arrows through the slits at him and then rolling out of the way every time your turn was over so that he couldn't breathe acid on you.
Oh my gosh. I
was like, dude, good job, but I was so frustrated.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but that's rad.
It was fantastic. I mean, it was my own fault for explaining it like just open wooden slats at the top. Like
that's fair. That's fair. But that's super cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I truly don't remember that, but I just reading this, I loved this whole place because it's a town. So there's like you're just kind of going through exploring buildings and such, and then one of the buildings there is a dragon that has moved in here. And also this town, very close to Neverwinter, 30 years ago, this town was overcome by a volcano that erupted. That kind of wiped out the town, and it hasn't been repopulated. So because of like the death and torment that's happened here, there are a bunch of zombies that are labeled as ash zombies.
Yes.
So kind of fun. Interesting point.
As well as
Lost Mines,
blights too.
Yeah, a bunch of blight trees. in Lost Mines, there was a added mechanic for the ash zombies. When they first took damage, they kind of left off this puff of smoke, of this puff of ash, and you had to make a DC 10 con save, or else you would have disadvantage on strength, on saving throws, attack rolls, and ability checks for the next minute. That has since been gone away with this one, which is, I think, a little bit disappointing.
Well, and it's interesting,
I think it's because they've rebalanced it. They're adding more zombies, but
well, the bummer thing too is like now there's no special thing about being an ash zombie. The only special thing is when they die, they leave a cloud of ash, but it doesn't obscure, it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't do anything. Yeah, it just leaves a cloud. Like, why even call them a different thing at that point, right? It's like they're just zombies that go poof when you kill them.
I was a little bummed by that. I was like,
it's a little frustrating.
I think, I don't know, if it was me, I would think I would keep that that little cool little ability. But they did kind of change it up with adding in that there's more zombies. There are, like you said, there's tree blights that are kind of around. Also the needle ones, blight needles or something.
Twig blights
like that.
And needle blights. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this actually comes to another change. The druid, who is named Rydoth, I believe. Radoth. She is a woman now. In Lost Mines, it was a male. It is an elderly human. She's a elderly human woman with long white hair, who doesn't use two words when one is needed. And in Lost Mines, it was a elderly man who had a long white beard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only difference there. But she has the same role play encounters, and she is also part of the Emerald Enclave, which is a druids that try and keep a peaceful order of things, and she's here keeping an eye on the Venom Fang.
Isn't the
Kurtis has a look.
Isn't the group of druids in Baldur's Gate part of the Emerald Enclave?
Oh my gosh, I think you might be right.
I think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never realized
there's
that
a little conspiracy about them being like the second in command's part of the Shadow Druids, which is like an evil druid group. But I think you might be right that they might be. Wow, that's really kind of fun. Who knew? Cool. But pretty cool little side quest. I think I really. There's also a lot of really cool treasure here to be found, and then you can take out a dragon. The treasure of the dragon, he has some scrolls. This was another thing. In Lost Mines, the dragon, you can run into here in this town, dragon cultists, which are the Cult of the Dragon, I believe.
Yep. I think it's
followers just simply named that.
Followers of Tiamat.
Trying
to bring Tiamat
here
back.
Exactly. They're here trying to befriend Venom Fang. And you can have interaction with them, and you can either try and kill them, or they're not really looking for a fight. So you can even kind of be like, hey, we're here to actually for the dragon. They're always going to side with the dragon. So that might be a really interesting little turn of events. If you're like, yeah, we'll join you. We'll go talk to the dragon. And you wind up turning on the dragon, and your party's like, no, we need to kill him. The cultists are going to side with the dragon. But no one's to say the dragon's going to be on their side, but that might be a really interesting turn of events, which could be kind of fun. Interesting thing, here, the dragon cultists in Lost Mines, they were going to present the dragon with 3 diamonds that are worth 100 gold pieces each. In this one, they're amethysts, and there's 6 of them, all worth 50 gold peaches.
50 gold peaches. Yeah, 50 gold peaches. So same worth, just different items. That's
exactly.
Interesting. It's almost like they're trying to not give you what you need to revive somebody.
Revive someone. That's what I immediately thought. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think it might be because in Cragmaw Castle, I believe, there's a scroll of Revivify in the treasure there. I don't think it was here. I think that was in Cragmaw Castle. And this is actually a question that just popped in my head. If you use a scroll of Revivify, do you still need the components, or does a scroll negate having to use?
A scroll usually negates components. Yeah,
that's really cool. I just thought of that. So that was my first thought was like, oh, they give you a scroll later, but you can't use it because you don't have the diamonds now. I was like, oh, but actually no, you can just use the scroll. Yeah. So that would be my only thought, is that you get a scroll later. You don't need the diamonds unless you have a cleric, but
right.
Kind of interesting, kind of cool. Anyway, that was kind of the main difference that I noticed, but Thunder Tree is a really cool place. And this is also interesting, is that Lost Mines, they had pre-generated characters, pre-made characters that your party could use.
Yeah.
2 of the characters were actually, like, their lineage traced back to Thunder Tree. So kind of a fun, like, if you happen to still use, those pre-made characters for this campaign, this could be kind of fun of you trying to reclaim your homeland and stuff like that. But then with that, this chapter ends off with Cragmaw Castle, which is pretty much the same. And I actually really did enjoy
pretty quick
this dungeon because it's not anything too fancy, but it kind of leaves a lot of room for play. It's kind of fun. Lost Mines actually goes into a little bit more detail of, like, since Lost Mines was kind of dictated toward new people, like a new DM and new players, they had this whole thing of, like, if your players decide to, like, take on Scarlet Cloaks, like they've kind of fought a few red brands, if they disguise themselves, they could try and get into the castle that way rather than trying to sneak in, which is kind of cool. This castle almost has a couple different ways that you could approach it that way, more like charisma-esque.
Yeah.
Or you can just approach it from being stealthy, which is kind of fun as well.
This was where I ambushed you guys with a doppelganger.
Yes.
In your campaign.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah. I think I do remember this. I think I had introduced the doppelganger. Was it all the way in Cragmaw Hideout?
So
they were a goblin.
Correctly,
they were a small goblin that followed you around.
Yes. If I remember correctly, we had just back in the hideout, there was the creature that had one eyeball that was, like, climbing.
The Nothic.
Once we killed the Nothic, we went into this room that had 3 hobgoblins and a goblin. We took out the 3 of them, and the goblin, like, immediately surrendered and was just like, no, don't hurt me.
Don't kill me.
Kurtis pulled on all the heartstrings and was, like, immediately surrendered. And we had it was the classic Reddit story of our party adopted a goblin.
Yep. And then
that goblin had been traveling with us from there to, if I remember correctly,
all the side quests.
Through a few side quests until we got to the castle.
Because you do run into another doppelganger at the castle.
Yes.
So from what I remember, there are 2 kind of in the adventure that kind of run around, and you can kind of do with them what you want. And I was so proud of that. When you guys were like, let's fight this doppelganger, and then one of the characters felt a sudden sharp pain in their back and turned around and saw the goblin slowly, like, shifting back into a doppelganger with a knife in their back. Oh, it was so good. Oh, I loved it. It was fantastic. Everyone was like,
Kurtis did such a great job.
No! Oh, I can't remember the goblin's name for the life of me.
We'll have to try and think of it. We might have some notebooks around here somewhere that might have it. Sarah might remember.
Yeah,
but
fantastic.
Oh my gosh, so good. So fun little note. If you guys decide to do that in this adventure, you could throw in some more doppelgangers. But this castle's pretty much the same. There was a couple changes. But it's kind of fun. This is supposed to kind of be the headquarters of the Cragmaw gang of goblins. There's a bunch of goblins throughout the region. This is where King. Ooh, what was his name?
Grohl?
King Grohl?
Is it Grol?
King
Grohl?
Yep. Grohl. King Grohl, who is a fierce old bugbear. And he's basically rules by pure intimidation. In this one, it doesn't, but in Lost Mines, he actually had 45 HP. That was the difference. But in this one, he had 45 HP, but a normal wolf. In this one, it's an old bugbear, normal stat block, but he has a dire wolf with him. So that's a little different. But this is kind of where he rules, and he rules by pure intimidation. There's even like goblins here. There's a goblin here that is a priestess that is claiming to be that claims to be able to speak to Moglabiet, I believe is the name of the god of the goblins.
Maglubiet. Yeah.
Maglubiet, yes. He can't, but it's just a little thing that's kind of happening. He has like 2 acolytes that are here, but some instruments that are actually worth quite a bit. There's like relics and things like that. The biggest change was in Lost Mines. There was a place in here that had an owl bear that was captured. And the owl bear, the King Grohl didn't know what to do with it, so it's just kept here. It's locked away, and the party can either, feed it and let it free, or the owlbear will attack because it's super hungry. But now this has been completely changed. Mm-hmm. It's labeled here the haunted tower. The goblins believe this place is haunted, but in reality, it is a Grell. Grell.
Yep.
Which is an aberration creature that looks like kind of a brain with like a bird beak and then a bunch of like jellyfish tentacles at the bottom.
With like barbs at the ends. Yeah.
Barbs. Super interesting stat block. This guy can be pretty deadly. Yeah, on Kurtis's phone there.
Creepo.
Mainly because if you get hit with his tentacles, you get grappled, and then when you're grappled in this way, you're restrained. You also have to succeed a con save to not be poisoned, but if you are poisoned, you become paralyzed. So it's if you get hit by one of the tentacles, it kind of gets a lot of things that are stacked upon you.
Yeah.
But he can only do once he holds one person, he can't keep attacking with his tentacles. So there's some things in there. But super interesting that they threw in an aberration, and for no apparent reason. I believe they're probably trying to push into just kind of that side of things, kind of adding.
They're just leaning into the aberration theme that the story goes into in the latter 4 chapters. Yeah,
right. Because it's not here, but in Phandelver and Below, there's actually a new stat block for a Grell Psychic, I believe, or Psyche or something like that. There's a new
type of Grell,
new type of one. So I think it's probably one of those things where we'll introduce a normal one here, and later on you'll see that this one's a little bit different. Would be my guess.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the different thing here with the goblins that are here. There's hobgoblins and bugbears that the party can get through.
Oh my!
And then finally, oh my. They can confront King Grohl in his bedroom area, where he is talking to a female drow. And like Kurtis had said, this actually is a doppelganger who is working for the spider.
Now,
and trying to negotiate to get the map from him.
For some reason, I remember King Groll, and here he's a bugbear. I remember King Groll, or at least the leader of Cragmaw Castle, being a hobgoblin, not a bugbear. Were there any hobgoblins in the original book?
So there are hobgoblins, and there are hobgoblins in the room. But no, King Groll in the original Lost Mines is an old bugbear with 45 HP.
Okay.
Is what he's labeled as here. His wolf is also named Snarl, by the way.
Oh, there are other hobgoblins. That must be what I'm remembering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, there's other hobgoblins, and there's also a really cool creature. It's like where was it? Because it was, here it is. In one of the rooms, there's a Grek, which is like a snake-looking creature that has a beak,
lives in the walls.
It's in the walls, has two tentacles. So there's some weird creatures in here that's just really fun and kind of just I feel like here just to spook your players.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, but this chapter kind of ends here with this confrontation, and essentially here in this room is actually Gundren Rockseeker because Groll is when you kind of happen here, depending on how your party goes about this, if they're making a lot of noise, they'll be ready for them. But essentially, the written way is they're currently Groll is negotiating with this drow woman and trying to get Gundren to be given over to the spider, and also the map to the Lost Mines of Phandevler.
Yeah, this doppelganger that is posing as a drow is here to take Gundren and the map back to the spider. Now,
interesting thing here, Kurtis, because I don't remember this, and but here it says that the doppelganger is actually planning to betray the spider, and once it kind of gets through this, that's going to kill the dwarf and destroy the map. Was there any reason to that, or
does it say that in the old book too?
So in the old book, it just says this is what the doppelganger is planning. It's planning to kill the dwarf and destroy the map. But it does. But in Phandelver and Below, it specifically says it plans. Then the doppelganger intends to betray the spider by killing Gundren
and destroying the map.
But it doesn't say anything about like why.
Why? Yeah. No, I don't remember that at all. I think
what
I just
the
ignored
doppelganger is planning. So my only thought is like either they want to try and just have this rush to try and have some sort of closure here with the doppelganger.
My guess is that they're trying to close a path that the players could have taken, where the players could have let it happen and then followed the doppelganger, you know what I mean? Back to the spider.
That's a fair point.
But they're trying to kind of close off that path by saying the doppelganger's not actually going back to the spider. He's intending to betray him and kill Gundren. So if you want to keep Gundren alive, you better save him now, kind of a thing. Yeah.
So I don't know. In Lost Mines, it kind of, when I was reading it, it kind of made me come to the conclusion that actually that's what the spider wants. The spider wants the dwarf to be killed and the map to be destroyed, but that way no one can find where the mines are. And this one, it specifically says betray the spider, and I was like, but why?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, I mean, if I was a DM, I might like what if like the doppelganger's actually working for what's going on below the city with like the aberrations and mind flares that's going on down there. That might be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Maybe.
And so that's why I was kind of assuming maybe later we might see that thread. But here I was kind of like, but why? But anyway, just a little.
Yeah, it is kind of out of nowhere.
But a little out of nowhere. But at this point, at the end of this chapter, the players should have the knowledge on how to get to the mines. If they manage to save Gundren, they bring him back to Phandalin. and they can essentially from there, Gundren actually rewards them with some gold and says actually that they can get 10% of the mine, which is kind of interesting for the party because that could be some backstory type stuff that players have there from the beginning. That might be what they're after.
Yeah, I can already see my
especially if they're
being
tied
very
with
interested
Gundren a
in
little
that.
bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool, different, and again, even ties them more into the town.
Yeah.
And so, if there were an epilogue by the end of this, it might be one of those things where they stay in Phandalin to work the mine and make gold that way.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Sure.
So anyway, kind of fun, but that's where this chapter ends. Yeah. What do you think of this chapter? Is there anything that you might run different or?
This is honestly one of my favorite chapters in the book just because it's so varied and so many different quests and fun things. I love all these side quests. They're all very good. Some of them are real short and sweet. Some of them are longer dungeon crawls. I think they're just really fun because they all interact with each other. They all help out the people in the town. And really this chapter, I think, is probably the longest chapter in the book. It doesn't feel like it in the pages, but it takes the longest because each of those quests is probably 2 sessions each at least.
Could be, yeah. I mean, if you're going quick, could be a session.
Not to mention the
quest,
extra sessions in between for going back to town, getting your payment, talking to the next person, figuring out stuff while you're in town. That's a whole session in itself. Then going back out.
Lots of role play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of role play.
This ends up being a very long chapter.
Yeah. And also a lot of potential for the party to make friends, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're one of these people that are you have a table like this, it opens up the chance for even romancing NPCs and things like that.
Joining
I don't know,
groups, joining Harper's, joining Emerald Enclave. Yeah.
Yeah. Adds a little bit more there. And again, just furthering ties to the town because later they're supposed to save the town. So I think it's just a really great incentive to get to know people and become heroes because each time they succeed one, I mean, it's a small town. You know that people are chatting, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Do you think you might run anything different, or are you again?
Probably so far everything's been going
maybe
good.
Instead of
the same, I might add that second doppelganger just for kicks.
Okay, a little callback.
Just to mess with things and see how the players react to that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I've been enjoying it, just kind of running it as it's played. It's been different and interesting. I'll probably add a few things here and there to help amplify characters' backstories and stuff, but still a little shaky on how that might work because I haven't gotten to know the characters very well yet. So
true.
Yeah.
That's also a very great point. It's this chapter is also probably you giving your party choices to see what they do, right?
Where they go, what they give priority to, who they like, who they don't like. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, with that, thank you all so much for joining this episode of the Backyard Tabletop. Kurtis and I are going to be continuing on this bandwagon, going through Lost Mines of Phandevler. If you like what we do here, maybe leave a like, follow us, and let us know what you think. I think the best secret word for today should be doppelganger.
Doppelganger, that's a tough one. It's a good word.
It's a good word.
I almost
went with Venom Fang, but
Venom Fang, that would have been good too. Doppelganger's better. Did I already ask you this? Which of the quests is your favorite, Jake?
Oh, okay. I really like Thunder Tree.
Yeah,
just
Thunder Tree's
mainly
fantastic.
because of mainly from the dragon. It also doesn't really have, it's not really connected to anything. I think it's just a really cool little side quest adventure that you could go
lots
learn
to
about
discover,
this town.
Lots to explore, people to talk to, a dragon to fight. It's it's a real good side quest. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, if you as a group, like this is always just the coolest thing though, as a party group, you vanquish a dragon. It's like the first question. I don't think I've ever heard something different. Someone's going to be taking a tooth. Someone's going to be taking a claw. Someone's going to be taking some scales if they can. This is a young dragon. Is there going to be some potential of cutting off the head to get the skull in order to take back to Phandalin to hang in the inn as like, look, we did that. And it's just going to, I think this is also really close to Neverwinter. So there's some potential of really making a name for yourself for taking out a dragon. I get it. It's a young dragon, but I mean, it's a challenge rating 8. Come on. Like,
yeah, man, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I would say that. I also, I don't know why, but the mage that's in not Wyvern's Tour, in the well, Old Owl Well, I don't remember him being a Thayan.
I don't think I really knew what a Thayan was when we ran the game before, so I didn't really pay much mind to it. He was just a necromancer.
I might have forgotten, but when I saw that today, I was like, oh, and that's probably just a really cool call out because of the movie, I guess.
Yeah, when we ran it, I don't think I had any idea what Thay or a Thayan was because we were still so new to the lore and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, with that, thank you all so much. We will see you next time as we take on Chapter 4. And don't worry, we will get back to our adventures of what's going on in our normal games. But we're having some fun here.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching.